Hey, it's me, ezzB, and today we are doing part two on my series of theory crafting for beginning players. If you haven't watched video one, please go ahead and do that. So, hopefully, in my last video, I convinced you that instead of just relying on other people to provide you team comps, that you should try and go out and build some of your own. So, how do you do that? And it's basically four steps, unless I make up some more as I go through this. But as I see it, yeah, there's basically four steps to it. So, step one is to identify the monster or boss that you are wanting to theory craft around. So, for me, the monster most recently that I was wanting to build a team comp for uh, is the Fire Ryu. However, let's say you are having um, difficulties, getting a reliable Giants team, for instance. Either one is fine, right? It also can be used when trying to take apart a defense. So if there is a defense in Guild War that you see over and over and over again, and or there's like a particular monster that you just lose to um, all the time, you can use this process to develop a team to counter that monster. Um, so, yeah, those are kind of like the three areas that this process works for. So, you have a monster that you've just gotten that you want to build a team around. There's a boss in the game that you can't beat, or there is a monster on defense that you want to counter. So, either way, once you've identified your monster, you want to become familiar with that monster's skills. So, if it's a boss, you want to go to the boss, the strategy info, and just read all of the monster's skills. Um, and that way, all the boss's skills, and that way, that might help you come up with the mechanics that you're going to be targeting for step two. Um, Same thing if you're doing a mon. So I'll go back to the Ryu, and when you're thinking about the things that you want to target, it's actually useful to actually like write them down in pen, right? So I am actually going to go over the Ryu because this is the monster that I'm going to be theory crafting around for this video. So when being attacked by an enemy, the chance of receiving a glancing hit increases up to 50% as the enemy's attack power is lower than your attack power. If the enemy's attack lands as a glancing hit, counterattacks with the Shoryuken, again, which is like pretty devastating because the Shoryuken has a 30% chance to trigger the Hadoken. So yeah, pretty toxic, right? And so the glancing is the main mechanic that I'm going to focus around. But let's not forget about this attack power, right? So being attacked by the enemy, the chance of receiving glancing hit increases 50% as the enemy's attack power is lower than your attack power. So if you're fighting a monster with low attack power, that increase rate of glancing is going to go up. So right away, we have two mechanics that we want to target, which I'm going to write down. Attack power. So these are two debuff mechanics, right? Attack power, I guess attack decrease is what it's called. Attack decrease and increased glancing. And that is going to be useful because if Ryu's attack power is up, then your attack power is going to be higher. So it's going to increase that rate of receiving a glancing hit by having it approach that 50% chance. And Similarly, if the enemy has a decreasing attack effect, then that's also going to increase the rate of getting it close to 50%. And then the ideal situation is you have the increased attack, and the enemy that's attacking you has the decreased attack. So that's two things. Well, I guess I've added a third thing now, because we want to have an increased attack. We bring our own branding with skill 2. Leaves an uppercut to inflict damage, leaves a branding effect for 2 turns. And skill 1 decreases attack power on its own. So that's good, but it might be useful if there's another member in the team that has decreasing attack as well as Ryu. One thing we don't see anywhere or haven't talked about is defense break. It's unless you're having a unit like a Lucian or a Copper, Odin, Leo in certain situations, unless you have a unit that ignores defense, Kali, then you always want to bring a defense breaker. So, we're going to write that down, defense break. And I like to rank them in order of importance. So for me, the increased glancing is the most important thing. And then attack power increase is probably the second most important thing. And then the third most important thing is probably defense break. One, because defense break is just so strong in terms of your damage output. And coupled with the fact that Ryu brings his own attack power decrease into it also helps. So step 1, we wanted to identify the mon or boss that we are theory crafting around. So in this case, we're looking at Ryu. 2, target the mechanics that we want. So we've done that, right? Increasing glancing is number 1. Then we said attack power increase number 2, and defense break number 3, and decrease attack number 4. So the next thing we do is we just want to find a bunch of monsters that can do those things. So again, if you watched my last video, we went over how to do this. We're just going to jump into the search. And so right away, let's try all 4, right? Let's see if there's a monster that increases attack, that decreases attack, and increases the chances of glancing, and also decreases defense. I'm almost certain there isn't a monster that's going to do all of these things. Wild. Okay. Really? Does all of these things? Decreases attack power. Decreases defense. Increases glance. And attack power increase. Wow. Okay. So, okay. So the first thing is obviously great. We've identified a monster that does all of the things that we want it to do. Bastet is just so OP. One thing we want to make sure that we do, though, is it's not just about checking the boxes. It's about what those skills actually are and what's the mechanic and how they work. So for particularly the Bastet, so it attacks the enemy and increases its attack power for 2 turns with a 50% chance. That goes up to an 80% chance. So that's actually pretty good. 80% chance to increase attack power, not too shabby. Although for skill 1, we can probably do better, right? And this is the important tip. When we're looking at, number 2, when we're targeting the mechanics and then searching for them, we want to take notes about what monsters do the skills that we want, and almost more importantly, how reliable are they going to be in this role, right? So here, 50% chance, not great to start, although Ryu also starts with a 50% chance, so you're going to get some attack power breaks in there for sure. But, this skill here, attacks all three enemies 3 times, decrease defense, increase their chances of landing a glancing hit, and disturb their HP recovery for 2 turns. So it's 3 hits, and I believe each one of these hits does one of them. So the first hit is going to decrease defense, second hit is going to increase chance of landing a glancing hit, and the third hit is going to disturb their HP recovery. So you really only have a 50% chance to decrease the defense and a 50% chance of having the glance. So having them both occur is actually a 25% chance. So yeah, that's not the best. I mean, again, it's an AoE, so if there's 4 monsters in the field, then the odds go up that you're going to glance on some and that you're going to defense break on some, and you may even do both or all 3 on others. But with Devilmons, you get an extra 30%. So that's another 80% chance. So that's actually quite strong as well once you feed Devilmons into it. And if you have a Bastet, I would definitely recommend you feed Devilmons into it. Bastet is useful in a lot of areas of the game, but it's an App 5. You might not always get one. So kind of shocked that we were able to get a Bastet, or we were able to get a monster that had all of those things. But that doesn't leave us with a lot of choices, and you may not have a Bastet. So let's go ahead and maybe split some of these up. So since increased chances of landing a glancing hit is the most important, identified as the most important mechanic, then let's search that and let's go through a couple of monsters. We won't go through all of these, but we'll maybe try to identify some ones with AoEs and just go through. So this doesn't do anything that I want. That doesn't really do anything that I want. So this does. And if you get a crit, it seems like it's 100%. Yeah, so it's basically, it's going to go through resistance check, and obviously won't go through immunity. But this is actually kind of interesting. I just kind of know from experience that I believe pretty much all of the water Taoists have that same skill 1. Does the water Taoist not have it? Maybe the water Taoist doesn't have it, but I think the wind Taoist has it. Yeah, and I think the dark Taoist has it as well. Looks like the light Taoist has it. So this would be kind of interesting, right? The light Taoist potentially could be useful because it's going to keep, this is a fairly nice sustain. So it will keep perhaps your Ryu alive a little bit longer. So, Hwadam, not necessarily a bad choice to pair with the Ryu. I don't have one, so that's not an option for me. I do have, however, the Wuchi Woonhawk. And I did actually end up 6-starring this monster for TOA normal way back in the day. And the other thing that you want to try to do is when you're looking at the target mechanics and looking at the monsters, you want to see how their other skills work. Do they amplify? Do they maybe counteract? Do they kind of not really do much? And to be honest, these Taoists, their other skills don't really do too much that's useful. So, we can kind of forget about them. Oh yeah, the water one is there. I just missed it. So, I mean, Gildong does remove immunity, which is actually something that we should have added to our list, because we want to place these debuffs, and you can't place debuffs if the monster has immunity up. So, a monster with an immunity remover, an immunity infector, that potentially is useful. Although I'm sure there's going to be monsters that do a better job of that. And this is a useful skill, but not really, doesn't really work with Ryu's kit. For instance, like Ryu doesn't slow attack bar, attack speed. If it did, then that might work together. So that's basically the idea. Is you just want to go through a bunch of these and just kind of see what happens. So Sekhmet, we noticed the Bastet second skill. So this one has the same second skill, and decrease the cooldown time by the number of effects stolen from the enemy. The cooldown time will reset. Okay, so again, that's potentially interesting because of the debuff, of the constrict immunity, and again attack power decrease. So the third step after you've kind of gone through all of these, you've made your notes. So the wind pan actually potentially has some interesting qualities as well, because it does do glance and it does increase attack power, but it's not an AoE, and also having another fire unit means that if there are water monsters, they're not necessarily going to attack the Ryu, which means your counterattack isn't going to be procced as regularly. So probably I don't think I would pair Ryu with a lot of fire monsters. Brandia, right, seems like potentially quite a good unit, because with a 100% chance after skill ups, you decrease attack power and increase the glance. But again, there's no guarantee that the monster is going to attack the fire Ryu and not the Brandia. I wonder if any of the other polar queens have that skill. Looks like no. Anyway, so you just go through all of them. One monster that I ended up looking at was the Shimite. I liked it because it had the AoE glance. Spoiler alert, that's the monster that ended up sort of building the team around. And what sort of sparked this whole video is, spoiler alert, I was lucky enough to pull a Bastet just a couple of days ago. So that was the other monster that I obviously included. I didn't actually pay attention to the skill 1 attack decrease, so that actually was a surprise to me when I saw that it showed up. I should have known that, but I was gonna say I'm not very good at my job, but this isn't my job, so I'm not very good at my hobby, I guess. Which I don't know if that's better or worse. Let's be honest. So yeah, basically that's what you want to do. So you start with number 1. You want to identify your monster or boss that you're building your mechanic around. Number 2, and as part of that, you've familiarized yourself with that monster or boss by reading its skills and trying to identify what mechanics that you want to that you think would be part of a useful team with that monster. So then number 2 is you want to target those mechanics by searching for monsters that do those things that you want in this search thing, which I showed about in my last video. And then the third, after you've gone through everything, you're going to select those monsters. And number 4 is actually after that, it's just trial and error. I'm not confident that my Bastet is faster than theirs. And if it's not, that does probably put me in a pretty tough place. I am faster. Okay, so that is good. Not that much faster, though. Okay, so what's the play here? I think because we have branding here, yeah, let's do that. And if I win this game, it's almost certainly because of that violent proc right there. All right, so now we're going to try and get our glance. And let's kill this. Get more glancing, hopefully on the Sierra. That's good. And that's what we like to do, right? Revenge proc. And this is all about reuse, so if our best stat dies, it is what it is. I mean, how satisfying is that, right? Like, all right, let's take out the Sierra. Oh, God, outspeeding is not something that I used to be able to do. I'm going to risk it, and I'm going to try to put glance on this Lucian. Good. I think I'm just going to try to push back the attack power, or push back the attack bar on the Bastet. And let's push back that. Yeah, see, that's great, right? Every time it's attacking me, and like it actually is doing not bad attack, not bad damage into that Bastet. Okay, can I still fool around here? I think I can. I don't want to kill the Samath while I have a defense break on. So let's do that. Get glancing back up again, hopefully. Like, isn't that, it's satisfying, right? Even if this isn't the best team in the game, it's really fun for me, right? I'm really enjoying playing with this team. And that's also the other reason why I want to make these videos, is because it's not necessarily just about, I mean, yes, you want to have progress, and these steps can help you do that as well, but it's about bringing new units into the game. It's about trying to find like new ways to win. Okay, so I'm going to cut it there. So just to recap, theory crafting is good because it allows you to come up with your own teams to either try to beat a boss or counter a mon that you lose to a lot when it's on defense, or to find teams that work around a new monster that you've just gotten that you want to play with and see how it can make it work. How do you do it? Well, you first start by identifying the mon or the boss that you want to theory craft around, and again, that can be your own monster, it can be a boss monster, or that can be a monster on defense that you lose to a lot. You're going to read all of those skills of that mon or boss, and you're going to write down all the potential skills, mechanics that would help that would help either beat that boss, beat that defense, or really make your monster that you're trying to build around the most effective. You're going to write those down, and I would again even rank them in terms of what's the most important. Then you're going to go in and target those mechanics by using the search in the monster box, and you're going to go through, I would suggest going through every single monster that has, if there's one mechanic that you want specifically, this works for mechanics that are more rare. So if you really want an Oblivion skill, for instance, there's not very many monsters that do that. Or beneficial effect block, there's not a ton of monsters that do that either. Defense break, there might be too many to go through, but try to go through a bunch of them and, start identifying which monsters are potential fits. You're then going to want to also look at the rest of their kit to see whether it really amplifies what that monster is doing, or amplifying the team that's going to go down and kill that boss. And take particular note, especially if it's like applying debuffs, what the percentages are. Because if it's like a 15% chance, like that's just not very good, right? If it's a 50% chance, maybe it's not great. But if it's attacking 3 times with a 50% chance, that the rate of that landing, the rate of that not landing is 0.5, 0.5 times 0.5. So that's like 12.5%, which means I think it's like an 87.5% chance that monster will be, that debuff will be applied at least once with an 87% chance, subject to resistance check. If it's a buff, a good thing to check is the number of turns, right? So a 1-turn attack buff isn't as valuable as a 3-turn attack buff, and that's also for debuffs as well. Is it a 1-turn defense break, or is it a 2-turn defense break or a 3-turn defense break? 1-turn debuffs aren't very useful because the odds that you're going to be able to do something against that monster while that debuff is up is quite small. Because of turn orders, it can be quite difficult to sort of land it with the debuff on if it's only a 1-turn debuff. So obviously 2, 3, 4 debuffs are better, although I don't think there are very many monsters who debuff anything 4 times. I can't think of any monsters that debuff anything 4 times. So if you can think of any monster other than using Pang, right, because Pang increases the debuffs, but if you can think of any monster that applies a debuff for 4 turns, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I'm going to end the video there. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like the video, please like the video, press the like button. If you want to subscribe, go ahead and do that as well. I'm going to try and put out at least 2 videos a week, as long as I feel like I have something to add to the conversation. And I think I do, so we'll see. But take care. See you next time.